EssentialHealthCareReviews.com. Striving to be your best source for healthcare reviews. There is a great deal of ignorance surrounding street drugs. We often hear that cannabis is safe to use, and while yes it probably is in small doses, after all it is a plant from this earth, nevertheless it has its downside. I once had to deal with a young man of 23 years who was suffering from dementia. During my association with him and his family, I discovered that he was hooked on weed, and had been for nearly 10 years. It turned out that he was in the habit of literally chain smoking spliffs, and as a result the practice seemed to have turned his brain to jelly. Although this could not be definitively proven, but research into other people with similar symptoms and lifestyles produced some pretty compelling evidence that supported our suspicions that this young man's overuse of cannabis had resulted in him falling victim to dementia at such an early stage in his life. That is bad enough, but some drugs can land young people in jail, and whereas the promise of a lengthy stay in prison might fill you with fear, it is nothing compared to being told that your reckless and cavalier use of drugs has done so much damage to your organs that nothing more can be done for you, and, rather ironically, you will be pumped full of drugs to alleviate the pain, while you wait for nature to take its course. Even so, the threat of prison or a possible painful end does not seem to be enough to deter young people from taking drugs, and that is because many young people find that being told something is boring, and they feel that concerned adults are patronizing them. Therefore, in an attempt to get around these objections and barriers and make the whole thing as interesting, fun, and memorable as possible, I had written a series of verse that looks at every drug from the point of origin and original aim, how to recognize it, and its usefulness, if any. Some drugs are sold and intended to be used for quite innocent purposes and what the legal position is, so now young people have all the information to make informed choices, and parents have all the information to recognize drugs and drug use. Here is a lead into the verses. All street drugs are bad, there is no doubt, and with the law you will lose. But young people will take them as their own, just as their parents drink booze. So let us not ignore this threat, and not push it well out of sight. For they are our kids we're speaking of, so come on, let's see them right. It does not matter what threats we make, they're curious, and will experiment. Along with their friends, and out of our sight, their inquisitive nature will vent. So we need to link into drugs, and to think how best to amend all the myths. That street drugs are fine, and promise a good time, when really they can be the pits. Here is that poem, and it is hoped that it will go some way to saving lives. It is called, Let's Learn About Street Drugs, or whatever you want to call it. The first verse is about amphetamines. Amphetamines are stimulants, man-made drugs that taste bad, and come as white or gray or pink or yellow dust or tab. Street names are Speed, Whiz, and Blues, and Uppers, Grudge, and Billy. Amphs, Sulfate, Crazy Horse, and Bass, and Black Beauties, and Willie. Amphs can be smoked, dissolved in drinks, and tabs can be ingested. And powder can be drawn into a syringe, and then injected. But do watch out, the drug called Speed is mainly made of grit, talcum, toilet cleaner, flour, and chalk make most of it. The law is harsh with those who are found in tenure of this drug. Expect no mercy from the bench, they'll see you as a fug. If you're caught with Class B amphs, then deep strife you're in. The courts can give you 5 years straight, and 10 if, suppliant,